Welcome to This is Concrete, a podcast where we speak with the people whose work revolves around concrete and coatings. Let's get to what you came for.
Hello, Chad Gill here, and I'm the host of the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Concrete. Concrete is a concrete polishing and coatings company with nearly 20 years of experience working in commercial, industrial, and residential markets. So whether you need smooth transitions for warehouse traffic or a show-stopping lobby floor or seamless concrete accent wall, we can provide the skill and imagination you need to make your concrete uncommon. So what are you waiting for? Visit us at thisisconcrete.com and learn more about Concreate today. Our episode is also sponsored by Workforce Recon and their app, Field Recon. Recon is a project tracking software that connects the office to the field crews. It is built with a field-first mentality, developed by contractors for contractors. It includes time and asset tracking, messaging, job documentation, and scheduling all in one place so you can see what's going on in the field. So if you're tired of finding out what happened days later, check us out at workforcerecon.com and see your operations in real time. All right, so joining me today is Lindsey Schmidt, a video sales and marketing consultant with impact and a video expert who's worked with Fox Sports Florida, Next Level Digital Media as a producer, a senior marketing manager. And she spends most of her free time at her local CrossFit box doing workouts of the day with her fiance, Steven, and friends, which means she's probably more in shape than all of us listening to this. So Lindsey, thanks for being on and making us feel bad and body shaming us along the way.
No worries, Chad. That's what I'm here for.
That's right. It's always here to support it. Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. We were talking about it earlier. You said you possibly speak German, which probably means you did it one time, and maybe now it's just the bad words. I don't know.
Yeah. So I do remember the bad words, but when I was in middle and high school, we had a German exchange program with my high school. And so actually I've had 4 German exchange students and 1 Austrian exchange student live at my house. So for a while, it was part of something that, my last name is Schmidt. It's very German. I was invested in learning about that heritage. So had a wonderful opportunity through high school, have been to Germany and Austria. But when I got to college, the German program was the level that they started me in was what I covered my sophomore year of high schol. I didn't really have anywhere to go from there. So I kind of stopped after that, which is really sad because I was really good at it, but it didn't make sense to continue with it with not a lot of opportunities to advance. So
my wife and I we did the German castle tour, and I was excited because I thought it would mean there'd be a whole lot of dark beer, but it was more wine than anything else. I was like, it was fine. We made do with it, but it was just not exactly what I expected. Awesome country. Oh
yeah, I love it. And another, I guess, fun fact is I'm a huge wine nerd. So German wine is hopefully making a comeback. I know in the 80s it suffered a lot with Blue Nun and Sweet Riesling, but if you have a chance to try a German red wine, they're getting better at making red wine. So Pinot Noir is what they're coming up with, I guess. So video nerd, but also a little bit of a wine nerd. I guess when Steven and I get married, our honeymoon, we want it to be a wine adventure. So Europe is on the list for that, obviously. Yeah.
We did one of the Viking River cruises. I think we were 20 years younger than anybody else on the cruise, but it was a great way to see the wine country.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm very jealous. We'll have to talk about that at some point because I would love to pick your brain, but we're here for video, not wine.
Exactly. So video, why? Yes. Why video? Why, because, we're contractors, we're marketing. We're like, okay, are we talking about job site videos and pictures and stuff like that? But you guys use video with a much more directed purpose.
Yeah. So I love the question, why video? And I love it, especially for contractors, because everything that we do now, especially with COVID, has some visual element to it, has some video element to it. And anyone can be a videographer. You have a smartphone device, I'm sure, very close by. Anyone has a smartphone device close by. Those cameras have gotten so good. They're essentially similar quality to a DSLR camera. Anyone can be a videographer, and with products so visual and services so visual as contracting, honestly, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't use video. And so when we talk about using video, it's not just like the pretty videos you put on your website that talk about your services or talk about your people. Going on site actually gives people insight into what the service is. And contracting has such a bad rep. More contractors using video can provide more transparency into helping people make better decisions about who they should be working with as their contractors.
It's so when you're using I guess let's start with what's bad use of video, legal. What's bad legal use of video in a contracting or a sales type environment? Where do guys really go poorly with it?
Sure. So I think a bad use of video is making videos with a biased lens. Legal things, that's going to vary by industry. Honestly, top of mind right now, I know my fiance is a public adjuster, and I know there's a lot of things that he can and can't say about that field as it relates to how it works with insurance and such. So I think every sort of industry is different when it comes to legally what you can and can't do with video. But a bad use of video is just using it to talk about how great you are. And sorry to burst people's bubbles here, but no one wants to hear about how great you are. They want to learn, they want to know about how you can help them. And so when people use video badly, when I've seen bad videos, it doesn't usually come down to quality of the actual shot or the composition or the audio. It comes down to how people are using the content of the video to show who they are to the customer. If you're talking about how great you are, you have the best warranties in the business, everyone's going to say that, but no one actually explains, what does that mean?
So it's so when we're talking about great video content, as opposed to great video, it's not at all a quality thing. And this isn't how great your camera is.
Right. Exactly. I would rather watch and I have watched videos where I'm quality of the shot's not that great, but I'm learning a lot from it. And as a video person, that drives me insane, but the quality of the content is more important than the quality of the shot. And think about the end user of the video. So your customers, for anyone who has never done video before, this is the first time they're seeing any kind of video production from you. They're not going to care about the quality of your microphone going just a little bit fuzzy. They might eventually, if you start getting really good at it, they might look back at your old videos and be like, wow, they've really improved. But most people are not used to seeing companies do video in that way and making helpful videos. They're going to be more excited about the transparency behind the actual videos and the quality of the videos.
So for my company, Concrete, we started shooting some videos. And our videographer, Will, is, he's skilled and he's great. And I thought, man, I know what I'm talking about. This is going to be a piece of cake. We're going to shoot 1,000 videos in one day. And obviously I felt there was no better subject matter than myself. So why could this go poorly? And that's when I learned there's a lot to being on your own video. And you should possibly even write down a quick script. I think there's kind of a good way to do that and a bad way. And we started out poorly, and then I think we've gotten better.
Yeah. And I've watched your videos. You already have experience communicating in that way from doing this podcast. A lot of people don't have that experience, but with on-camera performance, it's such a weird thing because you're talking to, even if you have a videographer there with you, you're talking to an inanimate object. You are staring at a lens, and that lens can't give you the body or nonverbal cues that a person could give you. And so practice makes perfect when it comes to that. When I was trying to be a sports reporter, that was one of my biggest hangups, is trying to make it sound conversational. Now it's just, I have to do video every single day. And so second nature to me, but that's from years of practice. Anyone going on camera for the first time is not going to be perfect right away. And I think that's something they have to give themselves a little bit more credit for. You mentioned preparing for it. And so we encourage people, especially if you're in sales, especially if you're a subject matter expert, much like yourself, that we try to stay away from fully scripting out videos. When you have a script, you tend to sound like you're reading. For someone reading for the first time on camera, that sort of is a crutch that they default to, of like, oh, well, I could save myself because I'm just going to read from this and it's going to make sure I get everything. Well, sure, people can become practiced at reading and making it sound like a conversation. But at the beginning, it doesn't necessarily come off as genuine. And that's what we try to avoid with videos. Video is a great tool for building trust. But when the subject matter expert in front of a camera does not sound or seem trustworthy, then that's where people can, in the audience, be like, oh, I'm watching this, but I'm not really engaged. I don't feel like I know that person. I'm going to move on to another video or move on to another subject matter expert to listen to.
Yeah, it begins to feel more like you're watching a commercial than actually being taught something by
Yeah.
In this case, a teacher, or, I mean, that's kind of the way you're trying to convey it, because from talking with you guys at Impact, I mean, the goal here is to teach, it's to educate, because and why go through all this education? Why not want to get to the job site and be in front of this person constantly, and just, why have the video?
So why educational content? When you are making a purchase, let's say someone is, let's make it relevant to contracting. Someone is looking to get a new roof on their house. That's a big decision to make. And so if you're like me, I have gone through the process of re-roofing my house. I'm going to do my research to make sure I'm picking the best company to work with, because not only is it expensive and I'm making a huge investment in it, but I'm going to be at the house. I work from home while they're doing this project. And so I want to make sure that the people who are A, coming into my house, or B, working on my house, are reputable people. So through that process, I'm going to educate myself on reputation, transparency, overall experience in the sales process. And I'm going to make my decision based on the company that I feel most comfortable with and have a connection with, essentially the company that I trust the most. And so by creating educational content, you're opening up the possibility of what someone can learn about your company while they're making a decision like that. I remember sitting through a 3-hour presentation at my kitchen table with a roofing contractor who I did not sign the contract with. First of all, I didn't realize I was going to be sitting there for 3 hours, but she lost me after an hour and a half, because I was like, this is too much. I can't deal with all this at once. It's a lot of information. If I just had something to read or watch on my own time, then I could make a decision more easily. And we ended up going with someone else. And if that person had sent me videos ahead of time to walk me through their process, walk me through the different colored shingles I could pick, or, metal versus shingle, if I could make those decisions ahead of time, think about how much time that would save me as the customer, but also how much time that would save that person as a salesperson. She's sitting through 3 hours with me. How much time is she spending with everyone else? Probably similar.
Yeah, just efficient. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So video if we're talking about why video, why education, A, it can save your customers time and they can build a better relationship with you. And B, it can save you time if you're sitting at someone's kitchen table trying to help them make a decision about which contractor to go with for their job or for their house or for their business.
So there's video content for your website, and
Yeah.
that seems kind of I think everybody's like, of course that's what I'm going to put my video on. But you guys recommend video in a lot of other places too. Can you kind of elaborate? They're kind of unexpected. They were surprising to me, and then you're like, oh, okay, this makes total sense.
Yeah. So video on a website is obvious. That's the big one. That's where people go when they are doing that research or in that phase. They go to your website, they look at what you have to offer. If you have a video on that page, even better. But probably the biggest one for people to digest is using video in your sales process. And that's one where we get people in the door and they're like, you want me to do what? You want me to send what to these people? And when we say video in the sales process, it can be two things. And we could dive deeper into what those two things are in depth and how they're different. But there's one-to-one video, which is sending a personalized message to someone. And then there's one-to-many video that you can assign people to watch after or before you meet with them. And what that will do for different phases of your sales process, when we talk about shortening that sales cycle, it'll help educate people before you get to their front door so that you have better conversations with them. They already know, they've already heard the answer to the basic questions they may have. Now you can focus on them. The one that we call there's a big video we call it the 80% video. I can bet that people listening to this can think of a bunch of questions they're sick of answering. Like you go out to someone you're talking to for the first time and you can predict what questions they're going to ask you. So what if you had a video that answered all of those questions ahead of time that you assigned them to watch? How would your conversation change? Imagine it would change quite a bit.
For sure. I mean, it would just, as a concrete contractor, probably one of the first videos I'd like to send somebody is please don't call it cement.
Yes.
So we can just get that out of the way early. It saves me a whole rant. But no, I think it's I was talking to another contractor and I was like, what are the 10 questions you have to answer every time you go to a job site? And it's hard to sound, not like this is the 10,000th time you've answered, but everybody has the same question. And if you get those 10 out of the way, your conversation can immediately go to the important points. And, and I thought that when you guys were talking about using video to do that, it's, not only can you answer all 10 questions, you can give the best answer you have to each of those 10 questions in a patient, caring manner that fully explains it better than you would ever, you might answer 3 of those well on site with a given day. But your video, you can do all 10.
It's consistent delivery. Exactly.
So your one-to-ones, that's the other one that was a little, so you send a quote, for instance, and you describe a quote. Where else do you use one-to-ones?
Yeah. One-to-one can be, like you said, it's a great way to walk someone through a quote. It's also a great way to make a connection with someone. My favorite example of one-to-one video is, so love him to death, obviously, my fiance. I was looking to switch from teaching to another industry. He was a music teacher for 10 years, wanted to try something new, doesn't really have any qualifications, he thinks, for anything else. But honestly, like what made the biggest difference is he would reach out to connections that some of our friends would give him, that I would give him, professional connections. And he sent them a one-to-one video where he introduced himself and said something about, I'm interested in learning more about your industry and what you have to offer. And can we talk sometime about what it would look like for someone like me to transition into your industry and what I would have to learn? He got more connections and more real conversations from using one-to-one video than just a cold reach out. So he was able to switch into a new job, completely new industry by using one-to-one video to contact people. With sales, if you have, for example, if you're doing cold reach out to some people and you're sending a bunch of emails and you're not getting the response you want, what if instead of just sending the cold reach out, you shoot a quick video saying, hi, using their name. So, hey, Chad, I noticed that you are working on X, Y, and Z project. Here are some of the challenges that I've worked with in the past and help contractors overcome this challenge by them using my product. You are using their name. You are sharing with them how your product can help with challenges that might come up in their work. And at the end, you're giving them an opportunity to put some time on your calendar to talk about it. That prospect is going to probably appreciate that a lot more than they would appreciate a cold email that they may or may not open.
It's sometimes just the curiosity of it. Hey, here's a video, and you'll do it. And it's and also just introduce yourself. You can have I guess it's another one-to-many version, but just it's like the signature on your email, and you guys have just a video of who you are. It kind of tells you who you are, and they're quick. But
yeah,
I mean, people really check those out. I mean, do you get a good response rate for people looking at people's bio video in their email signature?
Yeah, that's surprising. So I have a company that I'm working with over in the UK, and they do commercial bathroom projects, and they all have their bio videos and their emails, and they've gotten great responses from having people watch their bio videos as well as the videos that they put in the what's it called, the body of the email.
So it's just, I mean, it's like anything else. You want to work with people that you know, or people that
exactly.
You know. And so this just kicks you forward a little bit further in that relationship, so that you can, it just gives that person. Plus, I mean, they know what you look like when they're trying to find you on a job site. You're like, hey, I'm going to get there at 10 o'clock, and you get up and you look like your video. That helps out a lot. Also, just builds trust, and for safety's sake, it makes people feel better.
And for residential too, if they're meeting you for the first time, and like, for example, if you're meeting with someone and let's say her husband isn't home, but she's seen you in the video before, that person's guard is going to be down. They can recognize the person coming to their door. There's nothing that turns me into a hermit more than someone knocking on my door that I don't know, and I'm home alone in the middle of the day. At the time I don't answer the door. I'm like, I don't have time for this. So if you can break down that barrier ahead of time, that's another step in the right direction to winning their business at the end of the day.
So if you're a contractor and you're listening to this and you're like, or you're watch it, because it's a podcast on video. But if you're watching it and you're like, okay, all right, I'm kind of sort of convinced. How do I get, what's like my soft entry? How do I start doing this to see and test the waters kind of thing?
Yeah. So you, Chad, ultimately, like, you've taken the full plunge. You've hired your own videographer. You have gotten started that way. But if you don't have the means to hire a videographer, or if you're just a little skeptical and you want to try it yourself, there are a couple of things you can do to get started. First, you have a smartphone, so you can record video on that phone. Second, there are a bunch of free video hosting platforms out there where you can test record some of your own videos. So you need a couple things to get started. First, you need the equipment to record the video. You got your phone. Second, you need a place to store and host the videos. There's a platform called Vidyard. There's a platform called Soapbox. There's another platform called Loom. All three of those platforms have a free tier where you can record and host and store your own videos. Some of them have limits on how many free videos you can record. I believe Soapbox does unlimited, but any of those places are a great place to start recording your video. So we've got our equipment, we've got our hosting. Now the question is, well, what do you record a video about? That quote walkthrough is a great place to start. There's also, we talked about before, is all the questions someone's going to have before they talk to you for the first time. Write down all of those questions, and those can either be videos on their own or made into one big video that you send to someone before meeting with you. The trick is to getting them to say they're going to watch the video. So if you're going to send a video, you want people to watch it. So you have to make sure in the email that you say, watch this video before meeting with me. And then you can check back on your hosting platform to see if they have indeed watched it. If they haven't watched it, follow up and ask them to watch it, because it's going to save both of you time. We call that cycle and that usage of video in the email message assignment selling. So we're giving them an assignment that's going to teach them something before they meet with us. Common objection to that is, well, why are we asking our customer to do some homework? It's like, well, do you want to keep answering the same questions over and over again? I didn't think so. So if you ask them to do this homework beforehand, then you're going to have a better conversation, more genuine conversation with them.
And nobody likes feeling uneducated. They want
Correct.
to. They're either, and I think that's the one that got to me the most when working with you guys, was they're going to watch videos, they're going to research your product. The question is, are they going to learn from you or from someone else? So there isn't a matter of, are these out there? It's just, are you doing them? And you want to be ahead of it on that. So no, I think, and then I think that one of the very first videos we shot, months and months ago, was the idea of, hey, how to hook up our generator. Because forever my guys are calling me from the field and saying, hey, how do we hook up the pigtail to the generator? Sounds simple enough, pretty high price for getting it wrong. So we just made a video that we would text out to them. We weren't super sophisticated about it, but it's language agnostic. It's visual. This is where you hook it up. This is how you do it. This is how you can. And that really kind of keyed in. So training is a great place to implement video too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're thinking about it from that aspect as well, how many people out there are going to troubleshoot, when something goes wrong? Like if you have a problem with, let's say you have a problem with like your HVAC system, how many people are going to try to troubleshoot it themselves before they call an HVAC company? Well, you can bet that they are going to troubleshoot it themselves by looking at YouTube and trying to figure it out. And, if you're not the one they're learning from someone else.
And if they do learn from you, you automatically move up a tier in the respect and trust category, which makes your quote more appealing.
Yes, absolutely.
So a load of reasons to try video.
Mm-hmm.
Good way to start. And I like the European count, starting with your thumb. It's always interesting to me to see how people start counting when they go 1, 2, and 3.
I'm left-handed too, so I got that.
Oh no, we wouldn't have even done this if I'd known you. So that's awesome. But so we got a good way to kind of get started on it. And then when they decide, okay, I'm all in, now that's when I want to start reaching out to somebody like Impact or yourself. Mm-hmm. And, hey, kind of lead me through this. And that's either hiring in-house people or finding some sort of contractor to move you forward through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they, people don't have to work with Impact to get started. So anyone who works with Impact will be walking through mastering this book, They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And so the video that we talked about, the 80% video where we're answering those preliminary questions, that strategy came directly out of that book. So if you're like, well, that's great, that's one video I can create, but what else can I create? We have all the content where you can start with content, at least, and They Ask You Answer. We outlined what we call Big Five, which is industry-wide questions, and then our Selling 7, which is specific to our own products and services. So I'd say even before talking to someone like us, just pick up that book and get some ideas and get your wheels turning on what's possible with that. Because ultimately, if you do work with us, that's going to be the philosophy that we base everything off of. And if it's something that you don't think is going to work for you, then we also wouldn't be a good fit to work with you.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Unless you're one of our competitors at Concrete, in which case, don't do it. Just stick to paper and pencil only, and that'll help us.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Well, thanks a lot. We'll link to both Impact and we can put a link in there to go to the book on Amazon because it is there. It's worth it. I've kind of read it, which means I listened to it while I was driving because I don't even know if I know how to read anymore.
Do you count? So do you count? It sounds like you don't count audiobooks then as actually reading the book.
I do. I count them. My wife indignantly does not. So I came one day, somebody told me that I was well read because I had spent much of COVID grinding a floor and listening to audiobooks. And my wife, I think spit out some wine and said, I don't even think Chad knows how to read. I feel like if I listen to the book and can answer the questions, I read it. So now I actually have to tell people that I listened to a book, which makes my wife happy, but everybody else really nervous about me. Like, your books talk to you? Yeah.
I love listening to books. I'm a big audiobook person. I don't know if have you heard of the app? It's not Audible, but Libby.
I haven't heard of Libby, no.
So Libby is it's another app, but if you have a library card for your public library, you log on to Libby, you use your library card, and you can listen to books for free there. And it kind of gives you some motivation to listen to it, because just like checking out a book from a library, they give you a due date on when you have to return that audiobook by. So I crushed some audiobooks on Libby by realizing, all right, I have 12 days to finish this book. Let's listen to it very quickly.
Like, I'm in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, it's great. I love audio. I travel a ton and listen to them all the time. Well, thanks a lot. I'm going to link to that. And we can also probably put some link to some of the resources like Vidyard and Loom. Loom's a personal favorite. We use that a lot. And we'll get it going. Thank you, Lindsey. Thank you so much for being on. And we'll definitely, hopefully, a bunch of people will be calling in. But we'll
Sounds good. Thanks, Chad. This was fun.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to This is Concrete. We look forward to you joining us next time. Be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.